Okay, what this is just a mix of all the grandchildren wrote a little something and kind of put it all into one. My brother was supposed to read it, and he wasn't sure he could get through it, and now I'm not so sure I can, so bear with me. Lisa wrote it all together, and I think we all pitched in a little bit, so. Okay. It says our mama was someone who would have showered her grandchildren with wet, awkward kisses even after we were grown. And she did. I mean, sloppy, wet, multiple wipes. Every time you seen her. She hugged and kissed you like you were never going to see her again, but she was far from being a typical grandmother. She was blunt and had no filter. She would tell you if she thought your hair looked bad, or if you put on weight, or thought you had a big butt, or a bad haircut, or she just said it. Just whatever came to her mind. She would cuss a woman on TV doing a shampoo commercial because she thought she was overplaying it and acting, sexing up the commercial too much. She complained an awful lot. She could be unpleasant at times, for sure. But it was just part of her charm. And I always said that she was like that her whole life. When I was, all this was around, it never was, never looked at her as like a mean old lady or anything. It was just Mom. She was just, that was her. And I laughed at it. I think we all did. It was just more endearing than anything. But it wasn't all bad. She was also a great painter, and she made the best fried chicken I ever had. She wrote great poems and used to make up amazing stories to tell us all. She taught us about nature, and always wanted to teach us anything she could about the Bible. That was very big to her. She had a very dry sense of humor, to say the least, and I think most of us grandkids kind of got that too. At least I did. She was the kind of person you would... Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to insert a joke here. You should have wrote it out for that. I told this joke yesterday here, and at least wanted me to throw it in. It's not really a joke, it's something more. It was one of the last times I saw her up at Valley. And it was me and Mom, and Alyssa was there. And there was a preacher on TV, like there usually was, and she said, "Who is that guy?" And his name was on the screen, and Mom said, "Well, that's Rod Parsley." And she didn't say anything else and let it go, and 20 minutes or so goes by, and we're talking about something else. It's long past that. And just out of nowhere, she goes, "Well, where's Bob Celery?" And I looked at Mom like, man, there would be days you'd go and she really wouldn't be very sharp. This is one of the days that she was really on her game, And I was like, man, what? So I was playing along, and I just told her that he was down the hall somewhere. And she goes, "It was supposed to be a joke." And she was almost mad that we didn't get it. Her timing was terrible, but anyways. She was the kind of person you would strive to please or impress because she seldom was. She taught her grandchildren to crochet, pray, make mashed potatoes, sweep and sew, and even taught Laura, her youngest granddaughter, how to purchase Avon. Jennifer's most treasured memory of her mama was being able to talk to her about anything and everything. She said, "I know she's in a better place than this. It just hurts because I won't hear her laughter, get her hugs, or see her smile until I get to heaven. She's the one who led me to Christ when I was younger. Just remember, it's not goodbye. It's see you later." Katie remembered a time when Mama woke up in the very early morning. She said, "I went to check on her in her room. We stayed up till 5 a.m. watching movies. I was about 6 months pregnant. I tucked her into bed and the baby started to kick. That was the first time she had felt my baby kick. We smiled and talked about the joys of motherhood. She She gave me the courage and wisdom to be the person I am today. I know in my heart I will see her again someday. I love you, Mama Dan. Oh boy, this was supposed to be on paper, obviously. Mandy recalled when I was 17, my grandmother almost died for the first time. It's when part of her did die. She was never the same after that, but she was still her. It's hard to let her go, but we got these extra years with her, and I'm so thankful for it. She got to see our weddings, her grandkids grow up, and new ones be born. She was and always will be a big part of my life. I will miss her every day. And the day I see her again, the first thing I'll do is give her one of those hugs and hug her just as tight. And I think that's a good point by Mandy to say that she did get to see all that, because I always say, if you can see your kids grow and your grandkids and your great-grandkids, that's quite a blessing to have, really. She was never very grandmotherly in the traditional sense. I always said you never walked in and the cookies were baking and the apron was on, and that just wasn't her. That wasn't her. She wasn't a grandmother in the traditional sense, but she loved us all, and we knew it. Part of her will be in all of us. We're all mean and stubborn, our own sort of family. We fight as passionately as we love, and we're uncensored, loud, and ridiculous. She was one of a kind, and all of us had a part of her in us. Whether it's the stubbornness or creativity or just meanness, we'll all have a part of Mama in us. Her words and lessons will be carried on through the future generations and beyond. We'll never drink a warm cup of coffee or brew a pot without thinking of her. Mama was smart-mouthed with beautiful legs who would smoke cigarettes, drink coffee, watch the 700 Club, and say, "Ow!" at everything. And she did, too. Oh, I'm sorry. At everything that she thought was terrible while meticulously folding her towels. She was eccentric and awesome. How lucky we are to have had her for so long. Thanks for all the inspiration, stories, talks, laughs, kicks in the butt, and mostly thanks for loving us, all of us horrible creatures, far more than we deserved. The rest of this on here is what Jamie wrote for Mama. He says, Mama was a hard woman. She often seemed unpleasant and angry. In my teenage years, many of my friends were somewhat frightened to knock on the door in fear of her wrath. She was never one to trifle with insincerities, preferring instead to cut to the chase and have the truth exposed for what it was, and what it was usually harsh. If she didn't like your clothes, she would tell you. She often told me I looked jakey when my wardrobe didn't meet her approval. If you had recently gained a few pounds, she would tell you in the most direct and unflattering manner. There's a theme here, right? I don't even know how many times over the years she brought to my attention my utter lack of a butt. To the casual observer, her unfiltered observations could be shocking or hurtful. And if you never got the chance to meet her, that may have been all you could see. Yet those of us who knew and loved her, these criticisms were terms of endearment, not to mention frequently hilarious. We knew that underneath all her harsh words was an unfathomably deep well of love for each of us. What it really comes down to is Mama was tolerated, no BS from anyone. She held us all to her standard of honesty and taught us all to face reality. That was simply who she was. She gave us strength and courage, both of which she had an abundance of. I know for a fact that Mama would have wrestled a bear to protect anyone she loved, and probably would have won. She was as many other things as well. She was, for example, a wonderfully gifted painter. I remember watching her work many a canvas with childhood wonderment at her talent. The smell of oil paint still takes me back instantly to those times. I know that whatsoever artistic talent I do have is thanks to her. She also confessed to me her aspirations to one day write a novel. She had the soul of an artist that under different circumstances could have flowered into something just as beautiful as the love she gave us. we talked about that a little bit on Facebook the other day, that, you know, she grew up in a time where she had a lot of kids and raising them. She didn't have time for things like that, but we just wondered what maybe she could have done had she had the time. I'll never know. Mama was full of raw talent and intelligence, and any creative endeavor she bent her mind to was soon mastered. But she chose instead to spend most of her time taking care of her kids. She was a tireless homemaker, cleaning up after us when we were mucking and gumming, terms I think she invented, trudging up and down the stairs with loads of laundry well into her 60s, getting up early to cook breakfast, her legendary biscuits, and spending every evening preparing home-cooked meals for dinner. I can't think of a single thing she couldn't do well, and when I think of it now, I'm amazed at her energy and commitment to providing a stable, comfortable home for us all. I had intended to speak about all the things, large and small, that she did for me. I wanted to recount stories of all the ways she made my potentially horrible childhood full of love instead of misery. How she instilled in me love of books and art, and all the myriad ways that she helped shape the person I am and the person I hope to be. But as I sit writing this, my mind is overwhelmed with memories and gratitude. I can no more relate all she did for me than I can count the raindrops of a storm. She didn't have to take me into her home and sacrifice so much to help the sometimes angry and ungrateful child I was, but she did. She could have given up all those times I tested her patience with misdirected angst and rebellion of my youth. Yet she didn't. She never gave up on me. She never wavered from the commitment that she made all that time ago. She never made me feel like a burden and treated me as if I was one of her own. She believed in me, even though all my troubled times, and always told me she loved me more than I could ever know. If I could speak to her once more, all I could say is thank you over and over again. Thank you for showering me with unconditional love, for every kiss, hug, band-aid, and word of encouragement. Thank you for being the beautiful person you were. No one has ever done so much or meant so much to me. I love you more than you will know. And that's it. Before I wrap it up, I just wanted to say a little, kind of recognize a couple people. What I've seen over the last year and a half, just let everyone else know that may not have been around. First is Diane here. She went up there all the time. See, you got me. I'm doing good. All the time, when a lot of other people couldn't be there for work or whatever, and she was there and sang to her and prayed with her and all that sort of thing. And I remember one day I was there and almost having one of her bad days where she was confused and she was asking for Matt, her ex-husband, Matt. And she started wailing and weeping, crying real loud and just uncontrollable. It was horrible to watch. And Dan happened to come and a couple minutes started singing songs, and she just calmed right back down, and everything was fine after that. And I was kind of free. I didn't know what to do. I'm glad Diane was there, but I thank her for all that. And my aunts, Vicki and Val, they went up there a lot too, and the Valley and Sweetbriar, and took her to doctor's appointments, and Melissa got to go with them all the time. That's really neat for me because she really grew close to her doing that. And I'll ask my mom there. She every day for a year and a half, whatever it was, she was there. And a lot of times I'm sure she didn't want to go, or she worked every day and probably didn't feel like going or whatever. But she was always there for her every day. And that took a lot of commitment and effort and time and gas, obviously. And Ron too. You got to give Ron some credit. It's tough. It's got to be tough on a marriage, something like that, every single day. That, have patience and understanding. Thank him for that. So, I guess the point is we don't always do a lot of things as a group in this family. Everybody knows that, but individually, everyone did their thing and loved her a lot. thank everybody for that.